Joining me on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line in advance of a Monday night trip to Green Bay here in Week 15 is none other than the defending Super Bowl head coach, the winning champion of last year, none other than Sean McVay. Good to see you and hear from you, Sean McVay. What's going on?
Not too much. Just like you said, getting ready for a tough game. Going to be nice and cold there, and see if we can build on what was a fun game for a lot of guys doing a great job getting the win last week.
Let's jump into that, man. So, is it true you send a playbook to Baker Mayfield, who booked his flight before it became official anyway? Like, that literally happened last week?
If I did that, I'd be getting in trouble. So it was impressive, Rich. I mean, the guy's capacity, how quickly, there was some carryover based on some things that he's done, but Zach Robinson, Liam Cohen, and really, got to give a ton of credit to Baker for the capacity that he had to be able to do that. And it was he set the bar pretty high on a couple days. Now that we got a week and a half, you never know.
I know, right? But what I meant is that he said he made the plane flight before it was official. But when it was official, you sent him the playbook for the plane flight. So that's how, as soon as it became official, you gave it to him so he could dive into it on the way to Los Angeles. And then how many like reps did he have prior to that game?
Yeah. I guess
Sean,
we won't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Right.
But yeah, he had about 15 reps in a live type of setting, and it was still modified because short turnaround. So maybe about 15 reps. Probably about 10 live throws, and then we ended up throwing some routes on air, and it you can't make it up. It's pretty impressive what he was able to do, and you could just see he wanted to come in, compete, and guys made plays around him. There was a certain comfort level, and I thought just the communication from his teammates, whether it was the guys up front, even just the rapport that he was able to establish with some of the skill guys, and he's just in between series with Zach and Liam and the rest of the coaches, and even Matthew in a lot of instances kind of helping guide along the way. It was a great group effort, but a ton of credit goes to Baker for being able to do what he did.
The rapport you're referring to, that was before he started headbutting helmeted guys without a helmet on for himself, right? Is that what you're talking about?
He's a maniac. I mean, it is when you watch people's reactions around him when they see him do that, it is classic, but He's not short on personality, that's for sure. And then
one last thing that I heard that I just want to check on. Is it true you only called one play off of his wristband play sheet, that everything else was, as you just said, just feel, gut, and things like that? Is that true?
That's probably true. In his ability, that's one thing that was nice about the mic is you're able to kind of communicate in a way, and he's so smart that, he was able to digest a lot of that stuff. We were a little bit more regulated, but it's unbelievable what he did, and I think that it's definitely set some unrealistic expectations because I thought that's just a real credit to a special guy and an incredible job by him.
So what does he do that fits your system? Because clearly, he despite being smart, despite being talented, clearly he's got to feel comfortable. And it's your system that helps make him feel that way, and you and your staff that helps make him feel that way, and his teammates, as you just said. But what is the intangible that you see that makes him fit what you do?
Yeah, I think the competitiveness, obviously, you mentioned the smarts, but just the ability to be able to activate a lot of different phases of our offense. You obviously always want to be able to run the football, but whether it's your play actions, whether it's your keepers where you're moving the spot, and even some of the screens that come off of that. And a lot of the core drop back concepts that he's had a lot of success with in his previous history are things that, that we emphasize as well. I think there's a lot of foundational elements of what he's done, particularly in Cleveland with Coach Stefanski and with Bill Callahan and Alex Van Pelt and those guys that I got a lot of respect for what they've done. And so there's a lot of similarities. And so there were some things that he's done, but it's being able to activate all those things. And I just think the play swagger, the energy, it elevates guys around him. And I think that was on display for sure on Thursday night.
How is Stafford doing, Sean? How is he doing?
He's a stud. He knows, he wants to be able to be out there.
Right.
He's gutted through a lot of different things this year, but you talk about a guy worrying about controlling the things that you can control, being able to, lead in his own way, help Baker get ready, help the coaches, being able to lead and just the communication. There was a lot of things that, he was on the headset on Thursday, and some of the things that he's able to mention, that you want to kind of relay to Baker are things that only the quarterback with an amazing command that's been in those shoes could articulate, especially at the timeliness that he was able to do it. So, he wants to be out there, Rich. Obviously, it's been a challenging year, but, you learn a lot about people when you go through real adversity, and it's continued to make me realize what a special human he really is.
Well, and obviously he can speak for himself, and you're a head coach, and you're obviously close with him. So I will ask this about the narrative that is being said out there. When you hear the word spinal cord contusion, and you see his beautiful family, and you guys now have a trophy in the case together, the general sense is that maybe he could be sitting around and looking around and saying that maybe football isn't there anymore for him, or he has something else to do, or he wants to be, doing something else. And then Baker comes along and we start putting two and two together. Is there anything you can say on that subject matter, Sean?
I think that's getting way ahead of stuff. Certainly the safety and health is a really important thing, Rich, but I know that he, from my understanding, the expectation and anticipation, this guy still wants to be able to play. He can play at an incredibly high level. We love him. Done amazing things for us in a short amount of time here, and so that's kind of where I'd leave that. I certainly wouldn't want to speak on his behalf on any of those things. I think that's a good headline waiting to happen before really any we don't have the necessary information.
Sean McVay, LA Rams head coach, here for a few more minutes before he takes on goes back into the locker room and the film room and get ready for the Green Bay Packers here on the Rich Eisen Show. Getting ready for Monday Night Football. What is your goal for the rest of the season? What is the way you're looking at the last 4 games here?
I think you're really looking at it as you want to just continue to focus on that process. It's the coaching cliche, but it is the truth. Coach Wooden was so far ahead of his time in regards to, hey, let's do all the little things the right way, and usually the score takes care of itself. But, hey, let's focus on our process. Let's really have great standards with how we approach everything that we can control. Let's try to get better. And let's see if that gives us an opportunity to come away with the outcome that we got against the Raiders. But seeing that improvement, seeing these guys commit to the process, especially, Rich, in the midst of, I thought we've had some adversity in previous years. This is real adversity, whether it be injury or not getting the results that you want. All of it, really doesn't matter other than being in the moment. And that's really where our focus and concentration will be, playing as well as we possibly can, coaching as well as we possibly can, and see where that leaves us after the last 4 games. But I've been proud to be associated with this group. It's been a challenging season. It's been humbling, but there's been a lot of things that I think when you look back and reflect, there is great growth. Has it been fun? In a lot of instances, there's times that it hasn't been. But I've always, thought, how you want to handle adversity. And then when you actually go through it, you can't, you can't ever mimic and emulate that unless you actually go through it and want to try to avoid these things at all costs. But when you're in the midst of it, I'm proud to be doing it with the group that we're doing it with.
Do you think we've seen Donald and Kupp for the last time this year? Do you think?
I don't. Aaron is doing well. I think it would be tough for me to see Cooper. Obviously I have to sit down and talk with Aaron, see where he's at. He's a guy that, like those other guys, is a fast healer. I know he wants to compete every opportunity that he can get, but we'll see about Aaron and Cooper just being on IR. Kind of hard to envision him playing again, but I wouldn't say never, speaking absolutes, but I think it's unlikely for Cooper for sure.
The phrase that you used earlier this week, and if you just, in the couple minutes I have left with you here, just put a little bit more meat on the bones. You said talking about injuries was, quote unquote, wasting your emotional energy. What do you mean by that?
Well, if guys are not physically able to go, sitting there and complaining about, these great players that we don't have doesn't do you any good. You want to support them. They're going to do their part as trying to get ready as fast as possible to get back out on the field. But, the thing you really hear people talk about it all the time, Rich, how do you spend your time and energy on the things that you can't control? Because so much of the time, and especially this year when I reflect, I've wasted a whole lot of time worrying and thinking about things that, hey, they've already occurred and I can't change them given the circumstances. So let's pivot our focus and concentration on those things that we can control and, the guys that are available. That doesn't mean that you're not still there for the guys that aren't able to be out there, but you want to make sure that you don't let the disappointment of having so many of our core players not available inhibit your ability to coach to the best of your ability and lead to the best of your ability for the guys that are out there right now.
So what have you learned about yourself this year, to get a little introspective before I let you go? What have you learned about it?
I think what you've learned is that, you think you've been through adversity in relation to just being a coach here. And, this has been the most challenging things. I think it's revealed some insecurities that I have that maybe I wouldn't have realized otherwise, that, I think you're in the process of being better equipped to handle those things. I think you're able to reflect and learn that, hey, man, the consistency really is the truest measurement of performance. And to say that I've been totally consistent, I don't think would be accurate. It might not have been visible externally, but internally you're going through some different things. But getting back to, focusing on the things that you can control, being present, coaching and really encouraging to the best of your ability to help players play as well as they possibly can. That's what it's about. And that's what I'm going to try to do. But I think you learn a lot about, people you're around and yourself. And sometimes it's hard to admit that maybe you're not as strong as you thought. But if you can get through it and keep fighting, then, I think good things can come from it, and it's not going to break you.
I got to tell, I can't tell that watching you. I can't tell that. Pretty much everything you just said is kind of surprising to me. That you have these thoughts going on. I'm serious. I'm watching.
Well, it might be more internal, and it is important to to acknowledge. I think you got to be real with yourself, and to say that when I look back on it, that there's things that I wanted to handle better and that I haven't handled relative to the way that I think I'm capable of with the surrounding people. It hasn't always been that way. It hasn't all been bad, but there is great growth that's occurring for a lot of people that are going through this, but. It's something that, challenges you in a lot of ways, and, we're learning that firsthand.
Baker had a hell of a Christmas weekend in Green Bay last year. I don't know if you cut up any of that stuff for him or you talked about that in his preparation. I mean, he damn near pulled that one off last year with the Browns. So let's see what he can do Monday night.
I think he had to fly private because of the COVID stuff, too, and get there on late notice. So. Right. Hopefully he'll just be able to travel with the team, and we'll make it a smooth deal and let him go do his thing.
I don't know, man. Maybe he does well when it's last second and travels like crazy. I mean, he seems to do pretty damn well planting flags doing that, Sean. My goodness. That's right. He did that last year. It is unbelievable. Thanks for the time. Always love catching up with you. Happy holidays to you and yours, and let's do this more often. I miss chatting with you. You take care.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate you having me on, Rich.
Anytime. That's Sean McVay, head coach of the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.